This is it, folks. The finale for Clayton's season of The Bachelor is right around the corner, and it's an absolute mess. After that explosive Final Fantasy suite with Susie, how is Clayton going to handle the rest of the season? Will he be getting engaged? Will he be with anyone at all? Well, we have one last preview to break down before the 2-night finale next week, and I'm going to be sharing all my thoughts on how I think this might end. So, for the last time this season, please no posting any outright spoilers in the comment section below, and if you want to watch the preview in full, a link to that is in the description. Alright, let's go.
Next week on The Bachelor.
Your actions speak way louder than words. I can't believe anything you say. Not one thing.
Okay, so pausing here to say that whatever's happening right now, I'm Team Gabby. But if I had to guess, this is taking place after the rose ceremony from hell to start off next week. And by the way, that's literally what production is calling it, both in what they say in this preview and what they named the preview on YouTube. The rose ceremony from hell. Now, we've seen it in the previews before, and we'll see it again ahead, how upset everyone gets when Clayton comes clean about his evening with Susie, sleeping with everyone, and then telling all three of them that he's in love with them. But this chat with Gabby seems to be happening once all of that is out in the open, so I'd say this is more likely Clayton coming to see her a day or however long after that all happens to ultimately break up with her. At least if this is like any of the seasons past. I think Gabby was, unfortunately, the woman he was going to send home at the final 3 if Susie hadn't thrown a wrench in that plan. And like I said before, if things go how they often do when the season blows up right at the end here, Clayton will go after one woman and try to make things right, and I'll have a sit down with the other to then end the relationship. And most likely on that list for him is Gabby. Though admittedly, this season has been a bit unpredictable, especially with the I love you Susie more than everyone else coming out of nowhere, so I guess it's possible we could be seeing a curveball. But Gabby being broken up with is my current speculation. Let's continue on.
Get ready for 2 nights of unbelievable television.
I'm so broken.
Clayton's hopes and dreams have blown up in his face.
You've put yourself into this situation. You've screwed the pooch, in my opinion. I wish I never would have fallen in love.
Okay, pausing right here because something really bothered me in this section with Clayton and his mom and dad. Remember, with having 2 episodes last week, we actually got an extra preview after the women tell-all. Take note of what Clayton's mom and dad are wearing in this shot. Now, check out this clip from the Monday night preview.
I had no idea this is what was going to happen.
Don't blame anything but yourself. But you are.
You're grasping at straws.
Here, Mom and Dad and Clayton are all in different outfits, meaning 2 different sit-downs on 2 different days. Now, traditionally, the final episode goes like this. The lead introduces his family to each of the final 2, one on one day, the other on the next. So the fact that we're seeing 2 different meetings with Clayton and his parents would indicate that there are 2 Meet the Family days still to come where on both days, even his dad, like most of Bachelor Nation, is trying to smack some sense into Clayton. But that would also then have to mean 2 women are still in the mix at this point. So, it would appear as though whatever goes down in the wild rose ceremony from hell, it doesn't halt the show. So as I see it, 2 things could be happening right here. 1, Clayton's mom and dad are meeting with Gabby and Rachel, and of course Clayton has to be upfront about everything that's gone down. Otherwise, mom and dad might be a little confused when either of them walk in sobbing or looking pissed off and start asking questions like, can they trust their son? Or 2, and we're getting a little more into wild speculation mode here, in preparation for the final 2 episode, Clayton's parents are already in Iceland anyways. So the first meeting, he's sitting down with them to talk about everything blowing up, and the second meeting is a sit down with Clayton's final pick after he's gone and won one of them back. As I've said in past preview breakdowns, I think the only person that could be at this point, or at least what makes sense to me, is Rachel. But we'll explore other options as the preview continues. So, let's keep moving.
I want to be fully transparent. I am in love with each of you.
Welcome to the rose ceremony from hell.
And I also was intimate with both of you.
Finally we get the clearest look at this final 3 rose ceremony yet. Like we speculated before, after everything that's happened with Susie, Clayton is going full open honesty and transparency with Gabby and Rachel, and that's not gonna go well.
No Bachelor has ever done this before.
He told me he was falling in love with me, and it's Rachel. He's in love with all of us, so how could it be special at all?
Okay, so here is a spattering of a number of shots we've seen before of the fallout from Clayton's honesty at the final 3 rose ceremony. But a new shot I want to point out is this one with Rachel. No matter what this is, this would have to be from some sort of discussion after the rose ceremony from hell. Whatever goes down in the last days of the season is not going to be easy. Whether Clayton pursues Rachel, or Gabby, or heck, even Susie, it's not going to be fun for Claybro. But there's a lot more still to discuss, so let's move forward, and the next section is a rehash of this clip with Clayton's parents, so I'm just gonna jump over it to this.
This is like the worst feeling I've ever had.
And if you think you know what happens next, guess again.
I've got some news that I think is going to change everything for you.
Now this is interesting. Jesse Palmer coming in with some kind of news that might change everything. And check out what Clayton is wearing. Same green sweater as here with his parents. So what could this mean? I think someone has changed their mind about Clayton and wants to still be with him. My primary suspect for this is Rachel, meaning she's going to be heartbroken over everything that's happened, unsure of whether or not she can continue with Clayton, but then she's willing to work things out. This is also the fuel for my previous theory. Clayton in his green sweater finds out someone still wants to be with him, so he goes and brings her to meet mom and dad. Again, this is all speculation, and really it could be Gabby too, though honestly I doubt that. The wild card theory, however, is that it isn't Rachel or Gabby, it's Susie returning. If Jesse Palmer is telling the truth when he says, if you think you know what happens next, think again, Susie returning would be the most shocking event of them all. And I will say, remember this shot from the mid-season preview?
You have everything that I've ever wanted.
Clayton here is talking to someone with blonde hair. So, whoever he's pleading with here, it's either Rachel or Susie. So, I'm officially nixing Gabby from any kind of happy ending with Clayton, at least while they're in Iceland. But let's now finish off this preview and then go over how this all might end, and if Clayton will end his journey engaged, in a relationship, or with no one at all.
No matter what's going to happen, you're going to hurt somebody.
I do love you, but
This is not how I wanted it to go.
I want to believe love's here, but I just don't know what's going to happen.
And here, the final preview ends on an uncertain Clayton. Check out his outfit too. Looks to be what he's wearing at the final rose ceremony, as seen here from the Night 1 season preview.
I believe that everything happens for a reason, and what's meant to be will be. There's hope here in this ring.
And this would mean that it seems as though there's a proposal at the end. Or at least Clayton has a ring ready. Also, it's really interesting how Clayton says everything happens for a reason in this shot. Those were the words he said to Susie as he sent her home.
Because of my faith, I believe everything happens for a reason. And I'm just going to take that and move forward in my life.
Is he echoing what he said to her in anticipation of meeting her again? Or in spite of what happened as he waits for Rachel? Now really, I think it would be nuts for Clayton and Susie to be a thing after everything that went down. And it's even crazier to think that Clayton would propose to her. I think it's more likely Rachel he's trying to win back. There's hope in this ring after all. But the main question is, will the woman Clayton is preparing to propose to even say yes? We have to consider the possibility that Clayton is straight up single at the end of this. Remember what Teddy said at the Women Tell All?
I am in a unique position where I do know a lot of things, so I think I'll just leave it at, I hope that you're okay.
This got me thinking, uh-oh, maybe Clayton gets rejected. Not to mention here, where Kira shoots her shot with him.
You know, I don't know if you're engaged, but if you're not and you're single, just know I'm single too.
Kira!
Now, I know Kira said she doesn't know what happens at the end, but of course she has to say that. Besides, a lot of these women do know what happens, or likely know more than they're allowed to say on air. At the very least, I think Kira suspects something, so she's just throwing it out there. And I doubt she'd be doing the same if she thought he was engaged, but who am I to say? So perhaps Clayton gets engaged in Iceland, but I'm having major doubts at this point, even though I know production can pull together an engagement out of nowhere like no one else can. Really, the only way I see Clayton having some kind of happy ending here is at the after the final rose. I mean, Clayton's been copying Peter Weber's homework all through this season, why not pull the same thing at the AFR and go after the woman who rejected him, which could be any of his final 3. And again, if that does happen, and I had to guess with who, I'd say Rachel. Because I honestly just don't think there's any way a relationship with him and Susie could ever work out after what went down during their fantasy suite. And Gabby's quite frankly the third wheel, and she deserves better. But be it engaged, happy, or single, however this ends, it's going to be a mess. So that's it for this final preview breakdown for Clayton's season. Thank you all for joining me in the sleuthing this time around, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more. I can't wait to see how this all ends next week, so until then, Bachelor Fantake, out.
This is not how I wanted it to go.
I want to believe love's here, but I just don't know what's gonna happen.